My name is Matthew States, U.S. Navy veteran, former Department of Defense contractor, sharing this story exactly as I remember it and experienced it. I'm not here to tell anyone what they have to believe, simply telling my story, encouraging other people to think critically, ask questions, examine the evidence for themselves. Joined the United States Navy April 11, 2001, served until December 2006. After leaving active duty, started contracting Fort Monroe, Phoebus, Virginia. From there, I went to DynCorp International at Patuxent River Naval Air Station, United States Naval Test Pilot School, aviation ordnanceman, aircraft mechanic. It was the same type of work I'd done in the Navy. Stayed there from 2007 till 2022. In 2022, I accepted a contract with Momentum, went to Qatar. Worked there until October 2023 before returning to the United States Naval Test Pilot School. On my very first day back, I got a call from a recruiter at K & Associates about another opportunity. This time in Kuwait, as an ordnance specialist working on the F-18 program. Applied, got the job, packed my bags, headed overseas again. When I first arrived in Kuwait, it was Ramadan. I was only working about 4 hours a day. So there wasn't much to do. I didn't have a driver's license yet. Not long after arriving, I was bitten by a stray dog. And that turned into its own ordeal because I needed to get rabies shots. It was Ramadan and limited hospital hours. It wasn't easy. I also did have health insurance at the time. Thankfully, I was able to find the hospitals I needed to complete the rabies treatment. Once Ramadan ended, I moved over to the night shift, started working on my qualifications so I could take my first vacation after my 6 months mark. When that vacation finally came, I decided to go to Munich, Germany for Oktoberfest. That trip is where everything started to change for me. During Oktoberfest, I believe I was followed by my coworkers I know from Kuwait. And at the time, I'd been drinking heavily and also came to believe that something had been slipped in my drink. A lot of that trip was blurry for a long time. It took me a while to piece together what I remember. Looking back, I believe people were trying to pressure me into becoming involved with groups I wanted nothing to do with. I remember telling myself that if what I believed was happening was real, I wasn't going to stay quiet. When I returned from Kuwait, things became disturbing from my perspective. I believe my phone had been compromised. I started feeling like my communications were no longer private. I remember hearing voices that sounded like people I knew from work making accusations against me over crimes I knew I had never committed. Felt like someone always knew where I was as I drove through Kuwait. I believe they knew my location. I pulled up to Panorama Towers where I lived. Felt like they knew exactly where I was going. I stepped into the elevator, pressed the button for my floor. I believe they already knew what floor I lived on. When I walked to my apartment door, felt like they already knew my apartment number. Whether people understand that feeling or not, it left me constantly looking over my shoulder. I remember hearing threats that made me fear for my safety. I believe people were trying to frame me for crimes I would never commit. The stress kept building until I no longer knew who I could trust. At one point, I went to the local police in Kuwait, tried to explain what I believed was happening. It left me feeling like it was better for me to stay quiet, keep my head down. Also remember conversations about my leather work. I started making leather goods as a creative outlet. Felt like people were encouraging me to open an Etsy store. At that time, I interpreted those conversations as an attempt to draw me into something that I didn't want to be a part of. Whether that interpretation was correct or not, that's how I experienced it. Eventually, I left Kuwait, returned to the United States. Then I no longer trusted my electronic devices. I smashed some of them because I believed they had been compromised. I remember sitting in the airport. I thought I heard my phone ring. I answered it, but no one spoke. Then I believe I heard my mother's voice coming from another nearby electronic device before everything stopped. That moment stayed with me. After I came back to America, I still believe my phone was being monitored and that people around me somehow knew things they shouldn't have known. And those experiences affected every part of my life. People in my neighborhood where I was living, I believe, were there watching me, intimidate and pressure me. Felt like they were trying to make me stay quiet for money. I remember seeing people from places like New York, Philadelphia, and they'd repeat things I said almost word for word like a parrot. That was one of the things that really stood out to me. There were also moments that I still struggle to explain. I remember seeing someone who looked exactly like my daughter. At first glance, I would have sworn it was her, but I knew it couldn't have been. I was in a different state that she had never been to. I knew her mother would never let her travel there by herself. There was a woman I had never seen before with her. It looked exactly like my daughter, but everything about the situation told me it wasn't. Experiences like that left me questioning what I was seeing. There were other things too, what people call street theater. Felt like people were acting out conversations that I had, repeating things I'd said, make me think I was losing my mind. And looking back, that's how I experienced it. It felt like someone was trying to make me question my own reality. At one point, I believe someone had tampered with my food. They were trying to poison me. It felt like constantly being followed, watched, intimidated. Everywhere I went, it felt like there was pressure on me. I believe people were trying to make me afraid, break me mentally, make me look responsible for things I'd never done. Tried going to authorities for help, but I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. Times where I believe my phone calls weren't reaching the people I was trying to contact. Looking back, I realized everything's happening around me I wasn't aware of at the time. Some of the people I suspected were co-workers, some were neighbors. I didn't know who I could trust. Also remember concerns about my work computer. When I brought it up, I was told that because it was a company computer, the company had broad access to it. The answer didn't give me much peace of mind. By that point, I already felt like every part of my life was being watched, and the pressure kept building until I felt like I was breaking. I didn't feel like anyone was taking my concerns seriously. I believe some of the people I reported my concern to were involved or weren't willing to investigate what I was describing. Because of everything I was experiencing, I started comparing it to things I read about programs like MK Ultra and other historical government operations. That's my way of trying to make sense of what I believe was happening to me. Around December 2025, I ended up being homeless. Felt like I was living under constant stress. My mind was trying to process everything at once. I couldn't make sense of it. It wasn't until I got into stable housing here where I'm at now that I finally started slowing down, trying to piece everything together. There was so much to process. Whether people agree with my interpretation or not, those experiences changed me. Sharing this because it's part of my story. I want people to hear what I've lived through, think critically, come to their own conclusion. Whether someone agrees with my interpretation or not, those experiences changed me forever. It could change how I think about power, influence, corruption, technology, trust. Not asking anyone to accept the conclusion without question, asking people to listen to my story, think critically, ask difficult questions, and examine whatever evidence you believe is relevant. Everyone deserves an opportunity to tell their story. I'd like to hear your story too. Leave a respectful comment below. If you found value in this video, consider subscribing because I'll continue sharing my experience, my recovery, my faith, lessons I've learned throughout life. Thanks for watching. God bless you.